Zone 9 gardeners once had something most people today would kill for, a garden that produced food every single month of the year with almost no effort. These weren't difficult crops. They weren't high maintenance. They were survival plants that our grandparents relied on through droughts, depressions, and wars. Then, somewhere along the way, we stopped planting them. Not because they stopped working, but because we forgot they existed. What I'm about to show you could turn your Zone 9 garden into a year-round food supply. If you live in Zone 9, you already know you have one of the best climates for growing food in North America. Mild winters, long growing seasons, the kind of weather that makes gardening almost too easy. But here's what most people don't realize. 70 or 80 years ago, Zone 9 gardeners didn't just grow tomatoes and peppers. They grew crops that came back year after year. Crops that didn't need replanting. Crops that survived heat, cold, and neglect. These were the plants that kept families fed when money was tight and grocery stores were far away. And the brilliant part? They were planted on a calendar, not a modern calendar with complicated schedules. A simple monthly rhythm that told you exactly what to plant and when to harvest. It wasn't about working harder. It was about working smarter. And then we abandoned it. So, what happened? Why did we stop growing these plants? It wasn't a disease. It wasn't climate change. It was something much quieter, much simpler. We got comfortable. Grocery stores became cheap and easy. Seed companies started selling us the same dozen crops over and over. And slowly, without anyone noticing, the old survival crops disappeared from gardens. But here's the part that should worry you. Those grocery stores, they're not as reliable as they used to be. Prices are climbing. Supply chains are breaking. And the crops we depend on now, they need constant attention, constant water, and constant fertilizer. The old Zone 9 crops didn't. They were built to survive, and I'm going to show you exactly what they were. January rolls around, and while gardeners up north are stuck inside, Zone 9 families are harvesting greens. Not just any greens. Perennial greens that came back every single year without replanting. Crops like tree collards, Egyptian walking onions, bunching onions that never died back. By February, they're planting early root crops, but not the kind you're thinking of. These were roots that stored themselves in the ground. You could leave them there for months and pull them whenever you needed food. No refrigerator required. No canning required. The soil was the storage. March and April brought the first wave of beans and peas. But again, not the modern varieties. These were old cowpeas and lima beans that fixed their own nitrogen, improved the soil, and produced pods for months on end. You planted them once, and they fed you all summer. By May, the heat-loving crops went in, and this is where Zone 9 really shone. While northern gardeners babied their tomatoes, Zone 9 families planted crops that loved the heat. Malabar spinach that climbed fences and produced greens all summer. Chaya, a perennial spinach that grew like a shrub and never needed replanting. Katuk, another perennial that thrived in shade and produced more leaves than you could eat. Summer wasn't a time to stop gardening. It was a time to let the perennials take over while you harvested. And when fall came, that's when the magic really happened. Because in Zone 9, fall is your second spring. You could plant almost everything again. The calendar repeated, the food kept coming, and the garden practically ran itself. Now here's where the story gets interesting, because the crops I just mentioned, most people have never heard of them. And the ones who have, they think they're weird, exotic, hard to grow, But that's not true. These plants are easier than tomatoes, easier than peppers, easier than almost everything we grow today. So why don't seed companies sell them? Why don't garden centers stock them? That's the question we need to ask. Because once you understand the answer, you'll realize that modern gardening hasn't made things easier. It's made us dependent on stores, dependent on seeds we have to buy every single year, dependent on fertilizers and pest sprays and constant work. The old Zone 9 calendar didn't need any of that, and I'm going to show you exactly how it worked. Let's talk about what made this calendar so brilliant. It wasn't just about what to plant. It was about creating a system, a garden that fed itself, a garden that got easier every single year. The secret was perennials. Most modern gardens rely on annuals. Plants you have to start from seed every spring, plants that die every fall, plants that need constant attention. But the old Zone 9 gardeners knew better. They built their gardens around plants that came back, plants that spread, plants that require almost no care once established. Take tree collards, for example. This is a plant that can live for 20 years. It grows 8 feet tall. It produces leaves year-round, and you never have to replant it. You just harvest what you need, and it keeps growing. One plant can feed a family greens for decades, but you won't find it at your local garden center. Why? Because you only buy it once. Or Egyptian walking onions. These onions plant themselves. They grow a cluster of bulbs on top of the stem. The stem bends over. The bulbs touch the ground and root. Suddenly you have new onion plants without doing anything. They walk across your garden. They multiply every year, and you harvest them whenever you want. No storage needed. No replanting needed. Then there's Malabar spinach. This vine grows 15 feet long in a single summer. It loves heat. It loves humidity. And it produces thick, nutritious leaves that taste better than regular spinach. You plant it once in May, and it feeds you until November. Most gardeners have never even heard of it. These weren't rare plants. These weren't hard-to-grow plants. These were common survival crops that every Zone 9 gardener used to know about. But somewhere along the way, we traded reliability for convenience. We traded perennials for annuals, and we lost something incredibly valuable in the process. But wait, there's something even more important I need to tell you about this old calendar system. Something that changes everything about how we think about gardening today. The old Zone 9 gardeners understood something we've completely forgotten. They knew that the best gardens aren't the ones that look perfect. They're the ones that survive when things go wrong, when the rain doesn't come, when money runs out, when you can't get to the store. And they built their entire planting calendar around one simple idea: plant the crops that don't need you. Think about that for a second. Most of us spend our entire gardening season babying plants, watering every day, fighting pests, worrying about disease, replanting when things die. But what if you didn't have to do any of that? What if your garden just kept producing year after year, whether you were there or not? That's exactly what these old survival crops did. And the calendar they followed made sure there was always something ready to harvest, no matter what month it was. Let me walk you through a few more months because this is where it gets really interesting. June and July in Zone 9 are brutal. The heat is relentless. Most modern garden crops start struggling. Tomatoes stop setting fruit.
Lettuce bolts.
Everything needs constant water just to stay alive. But the old gardeners, they were harvesting like crazy during these months. Why? Because they planted heat-loving perennials that thrived when everything else gave up. Longevity spinach, also called Gynura procumbens. This plant laughs at summer heat. It grows in the shade. It spreads like crazy. And you can harvest leaves every single week without killing the plant. One small cutting can turn into a massive patch in just one season. Or Okinawa spinach. Purple leaves that are packed with nutrition. Grows in poor soil. needs almost no water once established, and it comes back every single year, bigger and stronger than before. August and September brought the transition crops, the ones you planted knowing fall was coming. But again, these weren't the crops we plant today. They were varieties that could handle both heat and cold. Crops that bridged the gap between summer and winter without missing a beat. And then October hit, and while most gardeners were cleaning up their dead summer plants, Zone 9 families were planting their second main garden of the year. Cool season crops that would produce all winter long. But not just any cool season crops. They planted perennial onions, perennial kale, perennial herbs, and self-seeding lettuce that would come back on its own every single year. By November and December, they were harvesting again. Fresh greens, fresh onions, fresh roots. While the rest of the country was eating canned food and root cellar storage, Zone 9 families were eating fresh from the garden 12 months a year. Now here's what really makes this story tragic. We didn't lose this knowledge because it stopped working. We lost it because someone convinced us there was a better way. A more modern way. A way that required buying new seeds every year. Buying fertilizers every month. Buying pest sprays and disease treatments. And all the things that make gardening expensive and complicated. And we believed it. We abandoned crops that had fed humans for thousands of years. Crops that required almost nothing. Crops that improved the soil instead of depleting it. Crops that got easier to grow every single year instead of harder. I started researching this old Zone 9 calendar because I was tired. Tired of replanting. Tired of watering. Tired of fighting the same battles every single season. And what I found shocked me. The old way wasn't just easier. It was better in every possible way. When I started talking to older gardeners, the ones who still remembered these plants, every single one of them said the same thing. They wished they'd never stopped. They wished they'd kept the old varieties alive. They wished they'd passed this knowledge down instead of letting it disappear. One woman told me about her grandmother's garden. She said it was the most productive garden she'd ever seen, and her grandmother barely touched it, just harvested what she needed and let everything else grow. The garden fed the entire family, plus half the neighborhood, with almost no work. Another man told me about Egyptian walking onions, which his family had been growing for 3 generations. Still multiplying, still producing, almost 100 years later. These stories aren't rare. They're everywhere, if you know where to look. But most people don't know where to look anymore. Because we've been taught that the only good garden is one that requires constant work. Constant inputs. Constant attention. But that's not true. And the old Zone 9 calendar proves it. So, here's what I want you to understand. If you live in Zone 9, you've been given an incredible gift. A climate that can produce food 12 months a year with minimal effort. But only if you're willing to plant the right crops. Only if you're willing to look beyond what the seed catalogs are selling. Only if you're willing to trust the wisdom of gardeners who actually survived on what they grew. The old Zone 9 calendar wasn't complicated. It was simple. Plant perennials first. Let them establish. Add self-seeding crops that come back on their own. Layer a few annuals for variety. And then step back and let the garden do what it was designed to do, feed you. These survival crops are still out there. You can still find the seeds. You can still grow them. And once you do, you'll wonder why you ever bothered with anything else. Because a garden that feeds you year after year with almost no work isn't just convenient, it's freedom. If this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know about Zone 9 gardening, I'd appreciate it if you'd share it with other gardeners who might benefit. Because this knowledge shouldn't stay forgotten. It's too valuable, too practical, and too important for anyone who wants a garden that actually works for them instead of against them. The old gardeners knew what they were doing. They understood that the best gardens aren't the ones that need you the most. They're the ones that need you the least. Maybe it's time we started listening to them again.